So you decided to go camping out at an abandoned summer camp. And now you and your best friends are running for your lives from a psychopathic killer who's nearly unstoppable. Well, to find out how to survive history's most prolific horror movie killers, we've tasked your favorite lab rat with watching a bunch of horror movies and writing us a detailed survival guide. If you want to last even a minute against Jason Voorhees, you better stay tuned in for our Friday the 13th survival guide. Survival rule number 1: dead mothers know best. Alright, so you and your bestie are running from a psychopathic killer. Let's break down the scene from the top. First of all, don't run into the nearest creepy shack or any sort of building that you aren't sure has an exit. There's a reason why rabbits typically have 2 entrances and exits to their burrows. It's so they don't get cornered by a psychopath with a pickaxe. And if a building looks occupied, then by all means go for it. Most normal killers would break off pursuit if they think other people might be around. As far as Jason, well, the more people you run into, the more potential victims for Jason, and the less chance he'll decide to keep going after you. It's kind of like the old adage of hikers and backpackers everywhere. You don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your friend. But, okay, somehow you've stumbled into Jason's personal home and come across the remains of his dead mother. As disgusting as it seems, putting on his dead mother's clothing is actually pretty clever. Many serial killers have serious mommy or daddy issues. Take Ed Gein, for instance, who was basically a real-life Jason Voorhees. Disguising yourself as Jason's mother triggers the mama boy in him. And much like psychopaths with mommy issues, he responds to female authority quite well. Our heroine's only mistake was not stabbing him in the head fast enough. Lastly, let's talk about dead bodies. More specifically, let's talk about making sure bodies are actually dead. Jason took a machete to the torso, through his collarbone, but truthfully, that's not really hitting anything vital enough to kill someone right away. If you're getting chased by a serial killer and you manage to bring him down, take an extra 5 seconds to make sure they're down. Put that big rusty machete through somewhere a little harder to survive, like the throat. When it comes to murder, you really have to double check your work. Survival rule number 2. Home is where the murder is. Ah yes, the toilet. Is there a more vulnerable time in your life than when you're dropping the kids off at the pool? Okay, let's forget that our hero in this scene clearly did not wipe or even flush after getting off the pot. In fact, this will be a recurring theme in the film, and let's discuss some home security basics. First, if there's news of a serial killer in your immediate vicinity, maybe take some precautions, like locking the doors and windows. Don't go outside when it's getting dark unless you absolutely need to, and even then take a buddy with you instead of heading out to do laundry and leaving your home wide open for Jason to stroll right in and set up an ambush. Honestly, there's little that could have saved this couple, but as long as you're not leaving your home wide open to serial killers that just murdered 8 people right next door, you should be alright. Also, wipe and flush, people. Try to act like you deserve the gift of indoor plumbing. Survival rule number 3. Dealing with rapscallions. Let's face it, we've all been there. You stop at a rural country shop for some groceries when suddenly you're accosted by a trio of leather-clad thugs with slicked-back greasy hair, random chains hanging around their neck, and high-heel stilettos with peak 80s hair, all demanding you use proper manners. As any self-defense expert will tell you, the best way to win a fight is to never fight. So just give the thugs what they want, or you might find yourself on the wrong side of a Michael Jackson-esque dance fight sequence. This scene is why your parents told you to always use your manners. By the way, anyone else remember when 20 bucks bought you armfuls of groceries? Or when you could stop a car by threatening to punch it? Survival rule 4. Kill it with fire. Once more, yet another scenario we've all found ourselves in once or twice in our lives. Some young teenager runs over your gang's motorcycles, so you track them down, siphon their gas, and prepare to do some serious property damage via arson. But the teenagers you're taking your revenge on just happen to be staying at a farm being stalked by a psychopathic serial killer. Honestly, it could happen to anyone. Firstly, let's remember that stomach wounds are almost never immediately fatal. You can survive as much as a half hour with a serious gunshot wound to the stomach before dying. But try that somewhere else like your head or upper chest and you're pretty much dead. It's gonna hurt a lot, but taking a pitchfork to the gut isn't gonna kill you immediately. So maybe try, I don't know, screaming for help? Maybe scream for help before getting stabbed in the gut, like right after seeing your friend's girlfriend hanging from a rafter with a pitchfork through her throat. Listen, I get it, you're trying to keep up your badass 80s thug reputation, complete with bandana tied around one arm, slicked back hair, and a single earring. I told you, we've all been there. But if there's anything less cool than school, it's being dead. But what if you're the third friend in this trio of unlikely thugs finding your totally punk rock girlfriend and greaser friend dead? Instead of getting into toe-to-toe with whoever offed your people, why not try to go with the original plan? Burn the whole damn barn down. Fire is an excellent problem solver. I recommend it for everything from serial killers to long lines at the DMV. Survival rule number 5. Nobody likes jugglers. No, really, nobody likes jugglers. Don't be that guy. Survival rule number 6. Try and not be a perfect target. Alright, so I looked it up for you guys, and no, you couldn't get a very accurate shot off with a fishing spear gun at anything more than close range. That's because the spear projectile is just too heavy and unaerodynamic. It relies on water to keep it stable on its way to spearing fish, and even then you still have to be pretty close. However, if some madman in a hockey mask, by the way, this is the first time Jason appears in his iconic hockey mask, is aiming a giant spear gun at you, maybe don't just sit there. Even if you think it's just some friend pulling a prank on you, seriously, those things have hair triggers. So remember the 5 Ds of dodgeball to stay alive. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Survival rule number 7. Walk normal, not like an idiot. This is a tip not just for survival situations, but pretty much everyday life. Walk normal. I don't care how talented and agile you are to be able to prance around on your hands, nobody is impressed. In fact, we're all kind of put off by it, especially if you're doing it around the house for some dumb reason. Save it for the Olympic mat, Simone Biles. This was, for me personally, my number 2 most satisfying death. Not just for the stupid walking around on his hands thing, but also for offering his pregnant girlfriend a beer. Though I'm not sure if 1980s science had yet figured out that knocking back brewskis was bad for fetuses. What was my number 1 most satisfying death? I won't tell yet. Survival rule number 8. Nothing good ever happened on a hammock. Hammocks. The thought of one brings to mind a relaxing summer day, the sun high in the sky, and you relaxing as you gently sway in the breeze and doze off into a lazy nap. The reality couldn't be more different. Have you ever tried a hammock? They're treacherous. Lean the wrong way or shift too suddenly and you're gonna end up face down in the dirt. And don't even get me started on actually climbing into one in the first place, which requires years of freestyle rock climbing experience to even attempt. So yeah, just stay off a hammock. If your friend invites you to their getaway cabin and shows you to your bedroom but there's no bed, only a hammock, punch that friend in the throat and run away. That's not your friend, that's a crazy person, because nobody, I mean nobody, replaces their indoor beds with hammocks, because that's just an insane thing to do. Also, maybe take a glance through the very obviously see-through mesh of a hammock before you climb into one to make sure a 7-foot-tall man in a hockey mask isn't waiting to stab you to death. Survival rule number 9. Marijuana is a gateway drug to murder. Side effects of cannabis use include lethargy, slowed reflexes, dulled senses, and a lack of energy. All symptoms that prove fatal in a survival situation. We all knew our 2 resident potheads were gonna bite it, but if they hadn't been high on the devil's cigarettes, they might have stood a good chance at survival. Getting electrocuted is pretty much a guaranteed death, unless someone's there to pry you off and break the electrical connection, though that person better be grounded or they'll roast to death right alongside you. However, remember back to our pitchfork in the gut discussion? I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt like all the dickens, but taking a red-hot poker to the gut isn't really going to be immediately fatal. Also, the fact that it's glowing red-hot means it's basically cauterizing the massive wound it makes, dramatically increasing your odds of survival and the amount of time needed before getting medical attention. So don't be a quitter like our friend in this clip. Also guys, this scene is basically proof that drugs are bad, okay? Smoking reefer might seem cool and hip, but in fact has terrible long-term side effects on your body and brain, which includes violent electrocution and having a red-hot poker stabbed in your gut. The science doesn't lie. Survival rule number 10. Basic self-defense. Let's talk self-defense for a second. If someone restrains you from behind, like our non-hero Rick in this clip, don't forget that you have an entire other half of your body available to fight back with. First, the least you could do in this situation is simply stomp your feet and make it obvious you're in trouble. You may not be able to shout, but you can do your best Riverdance impression to get people's attention. Let's keep talking about your feet though, specifically your attacker's feet. Maybe you've got the idea to stomp down on your attacker's toes, force them to let go. That's not a bad idea if they're wearing regular sneakers or nothing at all. Simply bring the heel of your foot down as hard as you can on their fat little piggies, and after several good whacks, they'll either have to let go of you or deal with multiple crushed toes. However, there's a better move here. Instead of aiming for the toes, aim for the ankles. Simply raise your leg in front of you, then bring your heel smashing backwards into the ankle as hard as you can. Ideally, you want to strike it at an angle rather than head on. And a good ankle strike can not just be excruciating but debilitating and could cause your attacker to stumble, thus dropping both of you to the floor and potentially breaking his grapple. An even better idea, if you can manage it, is to simply kick backwards like a mule directly into your attacker's kneecap. Lift your leg out in front of you again, but this time flatten your foot as you swing it back and into the knee. Knees aren't meant to take crushing blows, and a good hit right on the joint can and will end most fights before they even start. Also, crushing Jason's toes probably won't do much to stop him because he's basically immune to pain, but there's nothing he can do about a wrecked knee he can't physically walk on. Lastly, if you've got no other options left to you, simply tilt your head forward and downward, then jerk it upward and backwards right into your attacker's face. Jason's wearing a mask, so this won't do much against him, but a regular attacker, you can easily shatter their nose and deliver a stunning blow. There's not many people that can take a full-force headbutt to the face, so if the first one doesn't set you free, keep at it. You'll likely ring your own head doing it, but your attacker will be in far worse shape. Survival rule number 11. Run! Seriously, just run! So, your friends have disappeared, your boyfriend, whom you were just speaking with minutes ago, has pulled a regular DB Cooper on you, and you just found a bathtub full of very bloody clothing. What's a girl to do? Run! Don't go looking for your dumb boyfriend, don't go exploring. Gee whiz, maybe I should check out the creepy old barn. Or maybe I should just lock myself in the house. Maybe you should just carve yourself up and save Jason the trouble. Just run! At the point that all your friends have gone missing, you've discovered at least one corpse in a bathtub full of bloody clothing, and now your boyfriend's more MIA than your dad who left for cigarettes 10 years ago. It's time to flee. Get to a car. Car won't start, get jogging. Fun fact, Jason doesn't jog. Seriously, he may be unstoppable, but he's also slow. Don't be an idiot and run into the murder woods though, just stick to the road. Keep going until you run into people. Survival rule number 12. Maybe shut up if you're trying to hide. First, this scene is in clear violation of Survival Rule 11, don't hide, run. Let's think about this logically. We can see in the hallway shot that there are a total of 4 doors in the upstairs area of the house. There's only one staircase up or down, which Jason is obviously going to be using. The cabin isn't exactly a labyrinth of options for Jason. He's going to very quickly find you, no matter which door he checks first. Instead of locking yourself in a closet like an idiot, maybe try one of the bedrooms. Shove the bed against the door, climb out the window. Or if you're gonna hide, be smart about it. Leave the window open and then hide under the bed to make your attacker think you climbed out. But alright, you're an idiot, so you locked yourself in a closet. Maybe shut up and don't scream to immediately give yourself away. Survival rule number 13. Do murder unto others as they would do murder unto you. The best way to not get murdered is to out-murder your murderer. You can quote Infographics on that. In about the only thing our heroine does right this whole film, she borrows a knife from her dead friend. Hey, she doesn't need it anymore. And then stabs Jason in the hand with it. Sadly, she then starts flailing the knife around until finally bringing it down on Jason's thigh. In our survival rule number 1, we discuss the importance of making sure that what you kill actually stays dead. In this case, all our heroine really did was give Jason a free knife. Leg wounds may hurt a lot, but they're typically even less fatal than stomach wounds. Bringing Jason down with a stab to the thigh is great, but this is no time to bail on your murder like Ted Cruz bailing on Texas for Cancun in the middle of a disaster. You keep right on murdering, and put that knife somewhere vital, preferably a whole lot of times. Survival Rule 14. What did I literally just say? Alright, you totally ignored Rule 11 to run away and decided to be proactive by fighting back a bit. If you're stupidly gonna do that, at least follow Rule 13 and finish your murder. A blow to the back of the head is rarely gonna be lethal. But after much careful research, scientists have discovered that repeatedly bashing someone's head in with a log until their skull is a bloody pulp is pretty lethal. This isn't that one Valentine's night you tried to do something special for your significant other. It's no time to leave the job half done and everyone completely unsatisfied. Survival rule number 15. Don't do the killer's job for him. The best way to tell that our heroine royally messed up here is the fact that she tries to lock Jason out of the barn. And the moment he inevitably gets inside, he locks them both inside. We've talked about hiding already. It's generally dumb, but seriously, if you insist on doing it, maybe don't do the killer's job for him by hiding in a place with one exit that he can easily barricade. Survival rule number 16. Especially don't do this. Hiding was already pretty stupid, but seriously, don't do whatever this was. But really, don't do that, only to run screaming at the door you already know is barricaded. Survival rule number 17. But do more of this. Finally, our heroine is following our survival rules and finishing the murder. Although, to be honest, repeatedly smashing Jason's head in with a shovel would have been far preferable to this whole setup. Remember, this is a pre-supernatural Jason. He's still regular flesh and blood at this point. Whether you're fighting a machete-wielding Jason or just a regular old killer, if you get the drop on them, there's no need to get all extra with your murder. Just a regular old-fashioned murder will do just fine. By the way, if you know how this movie ends, then you already know that Jason himself didn't follow this rule. And that's it. The good guys win, Jason is dead, and nobody ever hears from him again. What was my favorite kill though? Sadly, the one that happened off-screen of Shelly. Seriously, don't ever be that guy. But if you are, at least have the decency to die on-screen. Now, learn how to die less by watching You vs. Jason Voorhees, or click this other video instead.